it's your girl Rae
and Cat.
Welcome to Modern Outreach.
Welcome back.
Episode
5.
Period.
We're back.
We're like doing the whole channel thing.
I know, we really are.
We're like knocking down episodes.
We're regulars now.
Okay, so recapping on our last episode, Cats.
Street to Subsidy.
Street to Subsidy. I hope you guys enjoyed it.
I did.
So did I. I watched it. I'm not gonna lie. Maybe like 3 times.
We're funny.
Just checking, want to get things right.
Of course.
Yeah, so what about Streets of Subsidy?
I want you to recap first, actually. If it's okay.
I love that. I'll recap first. So, Streets to Subsidy, we talked about all the different types of subsidies that you could possibly receive. Did we?
We covered a large portion of them. I'm sure there's smaller ones.
Yeah, there's smaller ones, but those are like at least what's going down the case manager's kind of tunnel.
Yeah, this is like common knowledge for like case managers, like supportive services. Like,
yes, so I hope that it was informational, but of course wanting to just emphasize the importance of having vouchers and helping people that cannot pay the rent prices due to so many different scenarios, one of which disabilities. And so we have a new government who might be taking these things away and cutting the resources or cutting the funding that has to do with supporting millions of Americans. And so, just to emphasize the importance of these, because, that could be you or I one day, whether we're getting old or something, God forbid, happens to us where we can't work. We're also going to need, these programs and subsidies.
I'm glad you brought that up, truly, because no, it really is so important, and I think access is really what I want to emphasize. And again, like the way you access these subsidies is through connecting with services, through working through programs that have case management, that have supportive services, housing navigation. Like it comes in so many different forms. So like truly, like that is the easiest way to get connected to housing, to maintain housing, to really engage with these programs. And I also just want to emphasize that we're going to be sharing a lot of where these resources are in LA on our website. So definitely check that out whenever you get a chance, and definitely share resources with us that you think might be helpful to spread within the community of LA. So, that's the goal here. That's the space that we're creating, and really just want to spread the word so that as many people as possible know what resources are out there so they can find the best fit for them.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. This is really the people's podcast where you guys can utilize the comment space and talk about different things, share resources, and then you could also kind of piggyback on what we've discussed in the podcast. Maybe you want to add some things that we've missed or didn't touch base on. That would be awesome. So yeah.
Yes.
Cool. Amazing recap.
So let's get into the topic that we want to discuss today, which is You're Housed.
What now?
We've covered a lot about what comes before housing, how to get connected to housing. So now we want to talk about how important the follow-up is of what happens once you get that lease signed, once you get your keys, once you get your utilities all set up, you're all comfortable, you have furniture, you're like, great, like I did it, I got my housing, I did what I set out to do. Now what now? Like, right?
What now? Yeah.
What do you do?
For sure. It's such an important time right after you get housed, because you've literally like taken all these months, years, sometimes decades to surviving on the street, and then you're housed and you don't have to worry about those things. So the things that used to be so important to you then are now on the back burner now that you're housed, and a lot of people are not ready, or they're not set up mentally even to even like jump into like what life is. So there is definitely a transitional phase, and that looks different for everybody.
Oh my God, yeah.
You know, you could have maybe housed someone who perhaps has been on the street for 25 years. And they haven't slept on a mattress in 25 years. And so I've had to help a client move from the floor,
Yep.
to the sofa, then to the bed, or from the patio to the front room, to next to the bed on the floor to the bed. So even the most simplest things, you kind of have to work your way into. You know, getting up, brushing your teeth, washing your face, eating a full meal, cooking a full meal. So, you know, the transitional things are, yeah.
It's the things that we don't think twice about doing once, because we've been in housing our whole lives, compared to someone that maybe has been looking over their shoulder every night, who isn't able to get a full night's sleep because of that, who maybe is used to sleeping in their car. And again, like, everyone transitions at their own pace, and I think it's really hard to get through that completely alone. I think oftentimes I've seen that clients or people that we're working with that don't know what questions to ask for housing. So maybe they used to know how to pay rent before it was like an online system, but now it's like you have to learn what like a portal is. You have to learn like how to use your phone to pay rent, so stuff like that. So I think it's really helpful when you have someone there to kind of preemptively answer those questions for you, and then kind of guide you towards that like success with housing. So again, I think really helpful when you have that someone to preemptively answer those questions for you, and has a good understanding of what that success looks like, so that they can again connect you to the right resources. I think trust is a huge thing with having that support. I think we've had our feelings about high turnover in this field, about transitioning clients before they're ready. So I feel like I want to hear more about how, I guess, what our experience was like for you when it came to passing clients off once they were housed.
Yeah, so setting them up for success looks like you know your client, or you should know your client, to where, you know what, this client is going to be able to stand on their feet and be able to take care of themselves and hold their situation down without anyone helping them, right? Then you have the client that, you know what, they've had previous maybe addiction concerns with their money. They're gonna be wishy-washy with paying their rent and their bills. You know what, let me set them up with money management, so that I know at least I can sleep at night knowing that their rent is going to be paid. Then you have the clients where, you know what, I need to work with their wraparound services for mental health, whether that's their mental health worker, a clinician, and or a FSP worker, which is for like severe mental health. And so maybe they're coming along, and then we would work together to get that client on the right path. You know, I would tell them everything that I know, you know, no gatekeeping about what the client's concerns are, providing all the paperwork that they will need with all their connections, and kind of checking in periodically to make sure everything's running smoothly. You know, and that would go on and on. It's you know, definitely every client is different, so every type of situation, but setting them up with supportive services is top notch. If supportive services are available, for sure, let's do that. Whether or not even they're showing, you know, they could be on their feet or not, because maybe something happens and it draws them back, and at least they have someone there to provide the help and resources that they would need. Letting someone go off into housing without proper care is literally what not to do. So we were talking about housing first.
Yeah.
That is the housing second. That is the next step. Okay, so that's on the case manager side. That's on their DMH worker side. That's on their whoever their doctor is, whoever is their wraparound team. That's your job. That's your duty to do that. Follow through with your job. How are you gonna put all this work into somebody and then just be like, if I'm gonna put me into you, you best believe that that's not gonna go for naught. Like, I'm definitely gonna make sure that that is like set in stone and it's a working thing. But that is me.
No, I mean, I think that's the part that we care so much about, is like that second part after you get the keys, after you have that housing. Because I would argue, like, that's the point of intervention that has the most impact, especially if it's like someone that uses drugs, someone that is abusing drugs or alcohol. I think that point of intervention is so critical because they're in a period of transition, and stabilization is like right ahead, you know? So like, you're able to kind of, before that housing, it's really hard to try to convince someone to find some stability when their entire surrounding is unstable, is unsafe. So that point, that's where it should really be like, okay, maybe an outpatient program would be helpful. Maybe like regular check-ins. Because what I think can be really scary is like, a lot of drug users will get housing and then they'll end up overdosing in their apartment, in their own home. And there's no one that's going to check on them the same way that maybe on the street they had a buddy that was checking on them in the worst way possible. But like, harm reduction, that's basically what harm reduction is like, you had someone that was looking out for you that could get help. When it's behind those closed doors, it's a lot more dangerous in some ways. So
for sure.
I think that's why we emphasize like that those like connections and like building those like life skills and trust with whoever your support team is, because then you prevent stuff like that from happening. Then you're able to intervene before it gets worse, and then maybe they spiral back into old ways. So yeah, that was just a point that I really wanted to highlight.
For sure. I look back on housing people as a case manager, and something that I noticed even when they would come to shelter off the street is they were bored. A lot of people didn't have jobs. They were on fixed income. And man, idle time is so real. To pick fights, gossip, stick their nose into people's business, relapse, go back to the street and do completely opposite of what they were trying to do initially. That's how they got into shelter. When someone gets in the shelter, that's the first step on turning your life around, and you're signing up for that. So again, when you get there and then you start reversing, and everything that you said, you thought, then that's due to idle time. And I always press that. Hobbies are so crucial. A job is so crucial. If you are able, it's okay to work. I know that hell, I don't want to work. I get it. But honestly, unfortunately, if you don't have that, gold spoon in your mouth, not a gold, then yeah, because at this point, even if you have a silver spoon in your mouth, you still gotta work. You gotta have a gold spoon in your mouth right now. But like, honestly, like, finding who you are again. I used to say, oh, it's easy to house people. The hard part is to help them find themselves again. Because then you're like, oh wow, like, who am I? I don't have to go and shoplift anymore to eat. Like, oh wow, okay, I don't have to go and entertain some man that I really don't want anything to do, but I need somewhere to sleep that night. So wait, I don't have to do that anymore. It's like the realization of all this stuff, and then the trauma that you've experienced is sometimes that haunts you when you're housed. Nightmares people have, all types of things. They're reliving all the trauma. It starts to build up. That's why you need that security net, someone for counseling, therapy, all those things, because it's real and you don't know when it's going to hit you, and you just want to set yourself up for success. So again, with idle time.
And I think with idle time, the setting yourself up for success, when it comes to that, I think the number one thing that does lead to that success is community. Building a community, whether it's friends, whether it's family. I think oftentimes when someone gets housing, that does open up space to kind of reconnect with family that maybe they have lost touch with when they were unhoused. So I think taking that opportunity to really build those relationships is so critical for like the longevity of the success of housing, because you're able to grow those relationships along with kind of grounding yourself with the housing. They're able to someone to lean on when you have a lot of that emotional trauma to unpack, a lot of a friend to help drive you to appointments. It's building those connections, even if it's a fresh start and you're starting with a whole batch of a new friend group. That's totally okay too. There's so many support groups. There's so many places in which you could like create those healthier relationships. And I think being able to have that community really makes a difference.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought up community, because the community in which you're leaving has a huge impact as well. And so if you've been homeless are so tight knit. Everyone knows each other. They band together. They help each other out. Hell, addicts will be addicts together, help each other get high, find drugs, etc. It doesn't matter. And I always told my clients, these are situational relationships. They are not meant to last forever. It's like you're trauma bonding. And so what better way in the community in which you are living with to trauma bond with them and be friends and hang out and support each other. It's beautiful. But once you are housed, it's time to let go. It's time to let go because of a lot of reasons. Number one, and I've seen this happen, I'm only speaking from experience. Number one, you get housed, but your buddy doesn't. And that buddy of yours, in the back of their head, they're a little jealous. They're a little resentful. Maybe they've been at that shelter longer than you. And they don't know your circumstances on how you got housed before them. That's happened. Maybe they're jealous of the neighborhood or the actual apartment you got, right? And so you're nice and you're kind-hearted and you invite them over. And maybe they don't want to leave. Maybe they make it really inconvenient. Maybe they have all their friends coming over. What if, they take advantage of you, and that happens and puts you in jeopardy of losing your apartment. If you have a voucher, there's a lot of guidelines within your leases, even in, affordable housing guidelines. And if you, unfortunately go against those, you could get that 3-day notice. So, that's just something small. I've seen people literally try to sabotage someone and knowing that, oh, they're an addict, they're about to get housed. What? Like, yeah, you want to go get high? Let's go get high. And try to get them high so they wouldn't be housed. People will be people. And so, meaning you can't trust everybody. Okay, so again, keep those relationships, those situational ships where they are, and when you get housed, start your new life over.
So yeah, with that to me is boundaries, 100%.
Yeah.
That is setting.
But people
in
don't
order
have
to
boundaries.
set yourself up for success, it's to learn how to set those boundaries with that new housing. I always tell my newly housed clients that I'm working with that look, You don't have to let anyone in your apartment that you don't want. And you don't have to share your address with whoever you want. They can bang on that door. You don't have to open that door.
Yeah.
This is your own property. And like, I think there's a lot of value in being able to make like that clean cut sometimes. And it's hard to do for sure. But I think being able to learn how to set healthy boundaries and know how to be able to uphold those really, again, will lead to longevity with your housing.
For sure.
But yeah, I mean, we talked about community. What's another area that you think would lead to success housing-wise?
I want to focus more on the person themselves. Redefining who you are. There's such a mental tax on someone who's getting housed. You would think that they're like super stoked and can't wait to get housed, but usually they always like, I'm not even like, I swear to God this happens. They usually sabotage themselves right before getting housed.
Oh, I've seen that.
They like disappear. They stop coming around. They stop answering the phone. They get in trouble. They overdose. It is very bizarre. And it's almost like they're scared to make the commitment because they know that this lifestyle, all of the trauma that they've been trying to push down is going to come up to the surface after. It's almost like some psychological thing happens. And I always try to prepare myself for that moment because it's like, okay, the housing appointment is today. They just need to show up and finish this paperwork, and they don't show up. I mean, I don't know if you remember when me and one of the other case managers, he had came with me to house one of my clients.
I think I know which story.
And we literally, my client got out and started cursing me out because I was trying to house him in a brand new building in Century City. And he got out and was like, F you. And like, we literally were like, okay, we didn't even fight. You typically we're going to fight for like, and we were like, let's go. And we left them there. Like, you want to play these games, let's play it. And then what happened? In 4 days, here he comes back. Is my apartment still ready? And luckily housed him. But literally, that's what happened. So, you know, you have to be ready. I'm sorry. You have to be ready. That is the next part. Even if you just got housed, don't sabotage yourself. Don't give up that. Relinquish that so someone who is ready can come and be housed. Because it's tough. It's not easy housing someone.
I feel like, to bring it back to project-based housing, I feel like that's where that can become such a resource. Because to me, looking at it from like a service provider perspective, it's a lot less scary to go into project-based housing when you have that on-site support.
This was project-based housing.
But that's what I'm saying is like it should, like in theory, like as a service provider, like that should be, that logically makes more sense. But so many clients, at least that I've worked with, you say project-based housing, they're like, I don't want supervision. I don't want that support. But it's like, maybe they don't want that, but maybe that would still be.
He didn't like it because there was no pool. It's project-based housing, but it had a full gym. And it was beautiful. It was modern. But it was everything.
Like it's such an underappreciated like housing opportunity, I think. And like, you don't have, it has like all of these negative connotations, but like the truth is it's regular housing with extra support that helps you with long-term success, and then in a couple years you can relocate and find something else that may be in a different area. But most likely you're going to want to stay where you are because it's not all of those fears that are coming up when it comes to the housing, which I think is more so a fear of change and fear of that transition. Because give it a couple months in that new place and suddenly they're a lot happier to be in their new life.
Like,
and
thank
all
God.
of those fears and like all of those like reasons why they were like, oh no, I don't want to do that, irrelevant.
Yeah, seriously.
Such a minor thing.
Yeah.
But in that moment, it was like the most important thing. Like nothing else mattered.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that location, impossible, can never live there.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're there and it's like, oh, this is a great spot.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I don't miss those days, man. Now, like, now that we talk about it, it's like, dude, that was just like...
It's a lot.
Such a lot. I can't believe I did all that. But yeah, so, you know, going back to what now? School. School is fantastic, people. They have programs where you don't even have to, like, you can just take classes just for fun. I know Santa Monica College has a program like that. It's fantastic. Like, you can go and just learn something new, relearn something that you know, a lot of people have college degrees. They've had careers. Homeless people are not just like these people that don't have education. No. They're brilliant. I've had so many musicians.
Some of the smartest, most creative people I've met
are homeless, seriously. Yeah. So, you know, and they have so much to give to the world and so much to give to community. And reaching back to the community in which they came from is huge too. If you don't want to work, that's fine. But if you have idle time, why not go volunteer, get your story out there, show people that it can be done. You know, and at the end of the day, that's gratifying. You'll feel good at the end. You'll feel accomplished. It'll be a new high, a new experience, you know. And so there's so much more. There's so much more to life than, you know, okay, now what? No, now it's time to shine. Like, now life starts.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and I think those things, that like you fill your time with all those positive things, like working, like school, like whatever that might be, volunteering, part-time job. I think that brings consistency, a new consistency to your life. It builds a new routine, and I think that really contributes to success as well. Is when you have something that every day it's building that new routine. And maybe your old routine was, okay, like waiting in line for some food and then finding somewhere else to go shower, and all of a sudden, like, you're not spending half a day doing these things, but there's still things that you need to build that consistency of doing anyway. And I think the other thing that adds to is it brings accountability.
Yes.
And I think sometimes there is freedom in having your own housing and in that independence. But if you're not able to hold yourself accountable to the things that you need to do to succeed, sometimes it's helpful to be enrolled in something that will give you that accountability. Sometimes when I was working with clients, sometimes it was just having that conversation and having that come out as words of, okay, that's something I need to do. And it's just, okay, we talked about it, then the follow through happens. But just having that conversation leads to that success. But if you're not engaging in anyone, if you're not working with anyone, if you're not like socializing, you don't get that same accountability. And school offers that kind of accountability because you have to maintain a certain standard in order to stay in school. Work holds you accountable because you have to show up. You have to show up to get paid. Mm-hmm. So I think, if nothing else, like, find something that will hold you accountable in a positive way, that gets you up in the morning, that you enjoy doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. And it's really as simple as that. It's actually really simple. Get out, smell the air, walk, take walks, figure it out, sit down, have your vision board, have, you know, I never gave like a 5-year plan. I always told my clients, let's take it one day at a time. Yeah. When you get housed, now maybe you don't have to take it one day at a time. Now you can take it a month at a time. Plan out your next month at a time. Every month there's a new goal. One goal for 30 days.
Get your health in order.
Get your health in order. Like Go to the doctor. Oh my gosh, yes. Check up on yourselves. Get your physicals.
Get that surgery that you've been putting off for years.
Yes, those knees, those ankles. You've been on the street. Your back. All homeless people have back.
Your teeth.
Back, your teeth. Oh my God. Yes, Lord.
Yeah.
Your teeth. What am I talking about? Yes.
Go to the dentist.
Go to the dentist. And they go to Chirp LA again. And search those they have so many. I mean, every week there's something going on in the city. I just saw there's a diaper giveaway coming up pretty soon. There's so much. Please look into those resources and
tune in for our next episode.
period. I hope you like this episode.
Because I did.
I did too. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And Cat is gonna hit the button now. Like, comment, and subscribe.
Like, comment, and subscribe. Please. And thank you.
Konnichiwa.